Welcome to the Hobby School podcast. Whether you're a seasoned hobbyist or just getting started, Hobby School is the perfect place to learn something new. My name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I'm your host of the podcast. But before we jump into our episode for today, the only thing I ask is that if you enjoyed the episode, please share with a friend and give us an honest review on your favorite podcast platform. This helps us get out the content to more people. I also want to invite you to get on our wait list for our next Hobby School Online Learning Summit. These are free to attend, and you can find the link to join at hobbyschool.com, which is also in our podcast show notes. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. And my special guest today is Caroline and Emma, and I am super excited for you to hear our conversation. Caroline and Emma, can you tell the good audience more about you, how you help people kind of ignite their creativity? But I want to go into all the details about your studio that you have and all the history about it, because I really think it sets the stage for what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, thanks, Destiny. Yeah, thank you for having us on here. We're delighted to share information about ourselves and our setting, our creativity, and Caroline Tatham Art is linked to where we are. We live in a historic garden. It's 9 acres, all very different. We've got a pond, an orchard full of blossom at the moment. I'm also a garden designer, so I've created the garden from nothing. Now, 15 years later, we enjoy it, we photograph it, and it inspires my painting and the painting of my students. For the past 2 years, we've been running courses in art and also online digitally. For 15 years, I've been teaching people garden design. And we specialize in taking absolute novices and really encouraging them, reinforcing them, inspiring them that everybody is creative. I have a lot of students coming and they're convinced because an art teacher told them 50 years ago that they're not creative. And so they're very nervous around creativity. I'm so blessed because I have the sheer joy of unlocking that creativity in people and reinforcing the idea that if you've got a human soul, then you're creative. Part of my soul is in our garden here. Our house was built in 1695. On the foundations of a medieval monastery. Every time we go into the garden, we feel that sense of history, all wrapped up in beautiful nature. And there's just this incredible energy here.
So I feel like I'd want to go and take one of your art classes live, just experience it all. That is amazing. And I love the background. And I know the people who are listening to the podcast episode, they couldn't see what I saw in your background and where you actually do your art classes. But let's dig into this a little bit more. I'd love to know, you've had tons of experience here, and you mentioned that a lot of people come to you and, somebody told them 50 years ago that they weren't creative. But what are your top 3 tips on helping people that may think they're not creative to express their own creativity?
That's such a great question. And I think number one is believe in yourself. And that is very easy to say and probably is a bit frustrating to someone who doesn't believe in themselves. But genuinely, I have learned after years and decades of teaching that everyone is creative. You just need to tap into it. You need to really believe in yourself. Now, how do you do that? Because it's so easy to say that. I think the number one route to that is trust your inner child. And without getting a bit I'm a bit of an old hippie, if we're honest, getting too far down that road. I think we all have within us that child that's excited about having a fistful of pipe cleaners and a shoebox, and you have that feeling that you can do anything and create anything. And, that little kid is still there. So you want to tap into that. There's all kinds of studies have been done. And if you go into a kid's classroom and say to a little group of 5-year-olds, who loves art? Who's good at art? every single hand shoots up. But by the time the kids are 7 or 8, probably a third of them are not sure. And by the time they're 10, there's probably only 20% of them. And by the time they're teenagers, there's maybe one sulky person like me in the corner who still says they like art. Modern life has a way of knocking it out of us or convincing us that it's not important. What I love most about teaching, it's such a joy, is to reassure people and connect them back. So if you're doubting, if you're thinking, how do I believe in my creativity? You believed in it when you were a kid. Get back into that feeling. I describe it as the fizzy feeling that you had when you were a child and you got excited about making. So play, explore, do not overanalyze initially. Just get into the excitement of creating. And then my third tip would be regular practice. And I think that's why summits like yours, Destiny, are so fantastic, because it encourages people to connect, it encourages people to support each other, and have a go and keep having a go. Regular practice is wonderful if possible.
I love that tip. It just kind of taking us back to our childhood and just remembering that we can do anything. We could try anything. And even if it doesn't work, that's okay. Anna and Caroline, I would love to delve into this a little bit more. I've gone to your website. I've looked at all of the wonderful art projects that you have. And I think I told you before we started recording, they're so beautiful. You know, some of them I could see up on my wall, maybe in a print or even wallpaper. But can you tell us a little bit about what kind of projects are you working on? What do you teach in your virtual classes, in your physical classes, and what you might just do for yourself?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on this one if I may.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So yeah, at the moment, we're always doing courses, as you mentioned. We do online courses and we do in-person courses. Online courses are free for anyone to join all around the world. We love having international students, always very exciting. We do lots of watercolor courses, teaching anyone who's new to creativity, new to watercolor, or just people who have experience with watercolor, but just want to, dive in deeper. And like Mum said, maybe practice more.
Because what you said was great. So I absolutely
Thank
support
you.
that. I would just add to that with the online courses. I've taught at St Martin's and studied at Royal College of Art and all the kind of fancy schmancy English art schools. And one thing those colleges are great for is creative exploration, is getting your sketchbook out, playing, guided play and creative development. So we do a lot of crazy fun experiments and exercises that build up to a final artwork and put in place a really strong foundation, which is establish a color palette, practice the drawing that you're going to do, but not in a stifled, stodgy way, in a fun, doodly, playful way. So that when you come at the end of the week, because most of our online courses are 4 weeks, by the end of each week, you come to create a final artwork, you're feeling much more confident. And it's that confidence we talked about earlier. You've built up that confidence and it's not so daunting. And that way you can sit back, relax, and actually enjoy the process of painting without that awful feeling that, oh, I might mess it up, and you feel a bit overprecious about it. So I think that's something we're good at.
Unlocking people's creativity, which is already there, but some people aren't quite sure about accessing it.
And you mentioned earlier that you created these gardens from scratch. And do you get a lot of your inspiration for your artwork from those gardens?
100%, absolutely. I'm out there every day, so I'm still a very hands-on gardener. Up until very recently, I was looking after all 9 acres myself, including propagating the plants. We've got a 100-foot polytunnel. We've got a working vegetable garden we eat out of every day.
Super delicious.
What was great was Emma was homeschooled in the sort of end of her education.
After lockdown.
And we used the garden even then, didn't we? So
Yeah.
we would grow things together. And that was the beginning of us realizing we enjoyed working together in the garden.
Absolutely, yeah.
And once I got more into the art making, that way that we'd worked together homeschooling just carried on into the business. And it's evolved really naturally, which is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree.
I'd love to expand upon that a little bit more. So let's say, of course, I would love to go see your gardens on your 9 acres, but let's say that we don't have access to that. maybe we're in the States, but we want to take inspiration from our own backyard or community. What would you suggest we do?
Oh, that is such a great question. And I would just say, as an introduction to that, if people are interested in seeing our garden, we've got videos on the website, or certainly images on the
Yeah.
website, and we share loads on social media. And I'm always showing off about the garden. So also, really good point. You don't need a 9-acre garden to get inspired by nature. My top tip would be to make the effort to get out there. Even if you don't have a garden, you can look out of your window or go to a public space. I used to work in a very stressful job in London before I got into this line of work. I used to get up early in the morning, get on a bus, get into central London, and spring would have happened about 6 months before I even noticed. Well, maybe not 6 months, but months before I realised I was so out of tune with the natural rhythm of nature. And one of the brilliant things about having a garden or looking out of your window is that you will become in tune with the rhythm of nature. And that is a wonderful source of creativity. I often say to my students that when I worked in my big pressure job, I was like a battery hen, and now I've become a free range chicken because I'm out there and I'm aware of nature, and it's just good for the soul, and it's definitely good for creativity.
Well, I would have to say, it sounds like to me you've had your absolute dream job there. And I wanted to ask you something. You also have your gardening school. So you have your art school, but you also have a gardening school. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. Yes. And in fact, the gardening school's very established. We've been running that now for 15 years. We have people coming from the States, especially to do our course, come to live in the UK for a year. It's quite a narrow niche to teach. We have an international reputation, and I'm very proud to say that 2 years ago we had a student on Main Avenue at the Chelsea Flower Show, which is a huge achievement. That's been a wonderful way for me to really develop getting creativity out of people, because lots of people who come into garden design are career changers, and they've had, we've had the UK representative of the Large Hadron Collider, who was a nuclear physicist who decided she really wanted to be a garden designer. She was a beautiful creative soul, but sort of maybe lacked that confidence. And one thing I'm really proud of is how we connect people. Life has a way of convincing you that you're not creative. And it's a big question often comes up for me with interviews, and I'm interviewing people for the gardening school, and they say, oh, but I'm worried I'm not creative. And so I'm always saying, don't you worry about that. You're a human being, you're creative. You just need to learn how to access it. If you trust me, it's going to be a really fun journey together. I absolutely love that part of my job.
You have inspired me to look at your Instagram account and everything, because I want pictures of the gardening school and all of your gardens and everything that you have there. Before we wrap it up, Caroline and Emma, can you give the audience some last minute tips?
In terms of creativity,
Yes.
I think my last minute tips are: believe in yourself, trust your inner child, play, have fun with it, do it regularly, and try and find people that you can share your creative journey with, so you don't feel alone, you feel supported, and people that can reinforce you and encourage you and enjoy what you're creating.
I love the community aspect that you mentioned there. And you have a Facebook group too for people, right?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. We absolutely do. It's called Creative Space, and we're always in there. People are posting their beautiful artworks. I'm always saying, oh, Mom, we've got another artwork. Can I have a comment from you on it? She's like, yes, yay. So, yeah, if anyone has any creative work at all that they'd like to share, please feel free to post in our Facebook group and get some comments from Mum if that interests you.
Because we publish a sheet every week with colour, shape and texture ideas. I started doing that. I've already mentioned that regular practice is a good thing. And that it doesn't matter how experienced you are, that remains true. To encourage myself, I produce a sheet every week where I take a plant from the garden. Sometimes it's a view of the garden, but it's always from the garden. I put together a palette of colour, textures and shapes that I see in that plant or vision from the garden to help inspire other people, and it certainly inspires me. In a way, it's like me sharing a page from my sketchbook every week with our community. People often create work themselves inspired by some aspect of that sheet. And then they can share it in the Facebook group. I can comment on it and encourage them and start that wonderful reinforcement we were talking about.
So we will make sure that we have the link to that Facebook group, your website, your Instagram account, so that people can check it out.
Thank you very much.
Definitely tell us a little bit more about the free gift that you have for everybody, because I don't want them to leave without grabbing it.
Oh, thank you so much. If you want to sign up to our mailing list, you can grab a free video of Mum sharing her essential watercolor techniques. This is great for any beginners or people who want to dive back into watercolor or learn a bit more, because this is really the basics, the fundamentals of all watercolor painting. So if you're interested in that, that video can definitely be a real help.
Thank you so much. And I'll make sure that link is for everybody in the show notes. So you can go to the show notes and sign up and get that watercolor essential technique video. And Emma and Caroline, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely loved learning more about your business and your home and the estate and everything that you have. I must say, I am completely jealous. I was thinking, oh, I'd love to go see it in person.
It's been such a joy to get to know you a bit better.
Thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to sign up for the waitlist so you'll be the first to know when our next free Hobby School online learning summit launches. The link is in the show notes for this episode, or you can go to hobbyschool.com, and that Hobby School with school without an H in it. Talk soon.